Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with your boy Christian, aka the Road Dog, and the man broadcasting from the top of the mountain out of perhaps the balcony of his castle this morning, Mr. King Karl Bryan. Sir, how are you?
How are you, Road Dog? How goes it, brother?
Going very well, my friend. Going very well. Yourself?
Oh, good, mate. Can't complain, bud. Sun shining. Can't leave the house under government quarantine. But apart from that, if I could leave the house, man, I'd be very excited. That would be amazing. But I can see the sun.
You can actually leave the house. You're just supposed to keep that distance. For an extrovert,
it sounds more dramatic when we say that. It just sounds more dramatic. Man.
The extrovert in you just can't help but just run up and talk to people. Are you're a close talker then? Is that what the problem is?
Yeah, actually, no, that is not the case, man. I am not a close talker, and close talkers and I don't see eye to eye. I normally have to magically go to the bathroom when I encounter a close talker.
I did put a post up yesterday on Facebook saying if we could extend the social distancing to when we're driving as well, that would be greatly appreciated. Just all these people tailgating and everything else, I was losing my mind yesterday. But anyways, I digress. All right, you ready to dive in here or what?
Let's rock and roll.
Okay,
I am, bud. Let's rock.
Speaking of COVID, let's first question, shockingly, is about that. Good question here, by the way. So what is your best advice for succeeding and lasting through COVID-19? Sort of a broad question, but do you have sort of some general broad tips in terms of
I
that?
like lasting. Yes. Well, okay, some coaches are sitting there thinking, like, the reality is they're half pregnant, they got 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and they're thinking about whether or not they're going to continue to be a business coach. Like, that's actually a question that they're asking themselves and answering consistently throughout the day, week, and month. It's crazy, right? So this is a time, I hear the word pivot like crazy over the last short period of time. I get a better word for you or phrase for you. Let's dig in. Okay. That would be, versus pivot. And of course, I understand in some cases, some of the businesses need to be pivoting, but you'd be a lot better off in the interest of psychology just to dig the hell in. Shiny light syndrome right now, every online course, every this, every that, people are spending. The internet, social media is brutal at the best of times. Well, it's just 10 times worse now because you're spending so much more time on it, whether you're realizing it or not. Instead of consuming the content, become the content. In other words, instead of watching, the Facebook Live or reading somebody's posts, go create a post and a good one, entertaining and educational, ideally, and go create a Facebook Live. Like, just adjust it. Work on are you going to last? Work on the problem. We talked about this over the last few weeks. In fact, we'll probably continue to over the coming months. Like, work on the problem that is, not the problem that isn't. In other words, you're not going to solve the coronavirus, right? What you can solve is that local businesses are hurting. They need some help. They need some direction. So instead of sitting there, working out when we're all going to be allowed out of our houses and government quarantine and all this craziness is going to stop, and how Sweden's doing when they didn't even do any lockdown, right? So they just did social distancing, and they're fine. The only people that have passed away are in the elderly homes, the care homes. So anyways, like, rather than that, again, go create some unbelievable content. Go work out, like, get a pen and piece of paper and think, okay, if I was the restaurant, here's the 17 ways that I go about growing my business. If I was the local shoe shop, the local realtor or retail shop, if I was the local realtor, if I was the mortgage broker, if I was the landscaper, if I was the pool company, this is what I go about doing. Right. And by the way, with that being said, pen and paper is great, but also use your friend Google. There's all kind of research there. That's why, again, the coaches that work with us, we've got $50,000 marketing systems built in all kinds of industries. You know, a dentist, here's your $50,000 marketing system. Working with a cosmetic surgeon, here's your marketing system. Working with a daycare, here's the marketing system. Working with a landscaper, here's the marketing system, so they can see it and that they're ready to rock and roll. The bottom line is pen and paper is great. You should absolutely do that, but also factor in some research. But rather than sitting there and working out when we're all going to be allowed to get back to work, just go work on how you're going to go about helping folks. Significant. That's the problem that is. That's you fixing somebody's problem and working on your own coaching company. That's what somebody who's digging in is doing versus somebody who's pivoting. You know, as I think about this, like when I'm coaching, right, I'll ask somebody, I experiment with this guy, see if I'm right. I'm going to tell you I'm right 90% of the time. Ask somebody today, so tell me, what do you want? And then shut up, right? Just zip it. Watch for them to answer. Let them squirm a little bit. Don't fill in the blanks. What do you want? They will answer with what they don't want, right? With 90% probability, right? And again, by the way, when you're selling coaching, that can be incredibly powerful as you explain that. Like, write down, say, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to write down, so you write something down on a piece of paper, right? And you're sitting in front of your prospect, or you could be doing a live dealio, right? And like picture it as like a magic trick, right? If you know me, I do some incredibly bad magic for my 6-year-old daughter and her buds. So you're going to write it down, and then you ask them the question, so what do you want? And then they answer. Of course, they give you a list of things they don't want. You flip it over and look, you will answer with what you don't want, right? It's like, oh my gosh, this gal is good. Okay, if I ask you what you want, could you tell me? And could you write it down, in 3 bullet points right there in front of you? And the answer is probably no. And this is where you really got to dial in and get really, really, clear on what that North Star is and what it is that you're looking to accomplish with your business, whether it's COVID-19 season 2020, 2021, or not. Like, just really dial in. Bottom line, man, people got to stay the course. They got to have that North Star. And Road Dog, again, sitting there half pregnant, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Is this what I'm going to do? Not going to do? I mean, being a consultant is an unbelievable career for anybody, especially someone who's smart enough to think post-retirement. Like, actually, I want to finish with this. A little bit of a rabbit hole on you, Road Dog. But, like, the magic of a consultant is that you never have to retire. Like, when you're a realtor and the hip goes, the knees go, you can't get up and down the stairs, it's game over. You're not selling houses. Okay, I got bad news, like, not happening. Whereas a business coach, a business consultant, the longer you do it, the better you get at it, the easier it becomes, the more broader your network, the more referrals, the more relationships, the more partnerships, the more accountants, the more you can charge. And because when you've got all those things working in your favor, the more you can charge. So think about it. You could be, like, let's say you're 50 now, and on your 65th birthday, you are going to be so much better, so much more dangerous. So you could, like, let's say you're $2,000 a month coach now. When 15 years, let's assume you're going to be $5,000 a month. Well, if you had 2 clients and you were $5,000 a month, like, and 2 people per month, this is not exactly an onerous task. This isn't exactly somebody, working a 60-hour week. You got 2 clients. It's $10,000 a month for how long? For the rest of your life. Really importantly, wealth is a topic that I'm incredibly passionate about. And I think everybody should have one eye on it, right? Because you don't want to have to retool. You don't mind retooling when you're 50, 55, 60. I don't want to retool when I'm 70, 75. That's how you end up working at McDonald's, right? So with a career like this that you can do forever, you're laughing. So what I just described, if at the age of 65 you're charging $5,000 a month, 2 clients is $10,000 a month for the rest of your life, or at least until your cognitive abilities. Once the mind goes, it's game over, and you become your kid's problem anyways, right? So, like, don't worry about it. Like, I can't help you past that, right? But for the rest of your life, you'll never have to worry about running out of money, and that's not running out of retirement. Should be something that I believe everybody should be thinking about. So there you go, Road Dog. That's how to answer that, man. But everybody just, dialing in, digging in, not pivoting, digging in. So that's how I'm going to answer that, bud.
And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a big old fat asterisk on your 90% because if you ever meet Karl live, I just got to I'm doing you a favor here, bud. Like, just know this. 90% business coaching, fine. Anything outside of that realm, that 90% right ratio drops drastically. I just want to point that out. So it's a bit of a sliding scale. But anyways, now that we got that out of the way, you're welcome. I'm just going to continue on. You mentioned something about online courses, and by the way, I am going to create the ultimate course, and the course is going to be how to stop buying more courses. Like, that's the ultimate, right?
Yeah, I would like to I would like to invest immediately.
I am a victim to all of these online courses and programs. Oh my God. So anyways, but as they say, the greatest people to sell to are salespeople, right? So there you go. Speaking of online courses, because we do actually have a legit question here, what is your opinion of actually creating an online course? Do you think there's any value in that, Karl?
For sure. I think you create an online course, it's going to give you the potential, very important word there, to scale. The problem is, here's the question. Once again, what do you about, Karl, don't ask me what to do. Like, if you ask me, what should I do? What do you want? And then that's going to help me with what you should do. In fact, it's going to help you with what you should do. And then I'm not even necessary anymore. The trick is to work out what you want. The worrisome bit is the guy who creates the online course is normally the person that will say this to me. I go, what do you want? Actually, ironically enough, I say, what do you want? And they say, look, to do all the coaching, the one-to-one. I don't want to be a prostitute to the phone. What I want to do is create this lifestyle business where, I can live anywhere, do anything, yada, yada, yada. So I'm going to create an online course so I don't have to speak to anybody. And I say to that guy or gal, please stop everything, leave the coaching industry, never speak to me again, never speak to my buds again, leave the community. You are no good to anybody because you don't give a rat's you-know-what. Right? Like the person who says that, like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Oh my goodness, right? Like, in other words, you don't want to help anybody. That's the scary bit. And that being said, of course, I'm being a little bit dramatic. Creating a kick-ass online course just makes sense for a variety of different reasons. But if you're doing it because you don't want to talk to anybody, you're not going to be successful. So just save your time, save your money, and most importantly, save the people who are going to buy your course the money, because it was never going to work anyways. But here's what's important. When you do, let's say you go B2B and you create an online course, and understand that an online course is always going to be significantly less expensive than, something that's live or one-to-one and what have you, like significantly. Like, you can find them all over the internet for $100 a month, $1,000 unit of sale. I mean, a $3,000 unit of sale for an online course would be expensive, right? Well, the problem you have with that is that when you work it out, and this is what people don't tend to do, they don't think strategically, and they don't have the macro kind of big picture. It costs you $2,000 to get a customer if you go B2B. Okay, and without going through, just trust me on this one. It costs you $2,000. So therefore, if you're charging $1,000, guess what? You're losing a customer. You're losing $1,000 every time you take on a customer. What does that tell you? That you're going to go broke or burn out, just like realtors, right? You meet a realtor 90% of the time. There you go, Road Dog. 90% of the time, they're not doing it in 3 years' time, and they go broke or burn out. The same thing here. Okay, so your unit of sale needs to be significant, at least $4,000. So at least you can be doubling your money each time you sell a course. Here's the way to make it work, though. You've got to have online. You need to have accountability built into it in some way, shape, or form. The one-to-one coaching, that can be the Facebook group. That can be a weekly get together. That can be a buddy system. But you've got to have accountability, because people don't buy an online course and then go and do it. It's just not what happens. Of course, when I say that, somebody gives me an example, but what I'll say to them back is that I don't deal with anomalies. I just work on percentages. Okay, so you'd be missing out massively. So you got to build in that accountability, and you also have to have, like, business is just math. Again, you read my daily emails, you see that I always capitalize math for good reason, because successful business is just math. So if you've got a low unit of sale, your chances of success are, I don't want to say that they're nil because they're not, but again, you're moving into anomaly factor versus percentages. So what I would say to somebody, like I got a young guy who I used to coach him hockey back in the day, and he's gotten cranking me. He basically built he created a journal. And just one of the things, and he's, again, mistakenly, he's come to me just back into my world. Haven't seen the kid in a couple of decades, more than that. But basically, he's like, hey, man, I'm trying to, this book, and I know you got this successful coaching thing going on. Wonder if you could provide me for some direction. Here's my question for him, fundamentally, was a significantly more drawn-out process for this. But it's like, what do I buy from you for $10,000? And guess what his answer back is? Crickets. He doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about. He's like, what do you mean? It's a book, it's a journal. What would I possibly sell for 10 grand? I don't know, right? And I'm like, if you don't have the $10,000 unit of sale, as in upsell, you're never going to make the book work. Like, people don't make money writing books. The end. And of course, then somebody says to me, but Robert Kiyosaki did it. And I go, yeah, he also got on Oprah. And he is the anomaly on freaking steroids. And yes, Tim Ferriss has managed to do it and a few others. But, are you going to write a book and hit the bestseller list? And by the way, if you're going to, and that's where you're going to put all your time, money, and effort, go for it. I'm going to tell you that the percentages say your chances of success are like single digit, like 1-2%. But here's how you can do it. Use the book as leverage to get the credibility, to get on the shows, to get interviewed on the podcasts, on the radio stations, the joint venture partnerships, get on the phone with some heavyweight folks, and then use it to be able to sell your $10,000 program. And do understand that Robert Kiyosaki has plenty of, $10,000, $50,000, $100,000, and $1 million units that he also sells as an example, as a business model. So bottom line is you need to have that higher unit of sale. Business is just math. So you've got to have that working in your favor. So answer. Look, you're going to build an online course. All I can say is make a bloody good one. There are too many of them out there, and I have seen them of all shapes and sizes. And my opinion is that the most of them, I'm not going to put a percentage on it for you, Road Dog, but a percentage of them are absolute bloody garbage, and they should be ashamed of themselves for putting that. Like when somebody gives you, forget the $100 that they pay you or the $1,000. It's their time, it's their focus that you take away from them. You've got to honor that. So if you're going to make an online course, bloody do your homework and make a darn good one. And you'd already be entering the less than 10% of the market. So make sure you do that. But without the accountability, it will fail. So make sure you've got that accountability built in, and then a $10,000 unit. So that's and very importantly, if you're going B2B, it's going to cost you $2,000 to get a customer. So if you're not roughly, if you don't have something that looks like a $4,000 lifetime value of a client, I got bad news for you. It's going to end poorly, which is what most online courses do. So there you go.
I was just actually trying to find out. It's funny you mentioned the book thing because I read that somewhere. I'm just scrambling here on Quora and on Google to try and find the number. But I remember there was some statistic and some number out there where it's just like people selling books and just how almost it's such an impossible game. Like it's wild. Like it was a number that just absolutely blew my mind. Like one unreal, right? So, and they've tried the same for online.
The money and the other thing, Road Dog, it's not like, like the book, it's not like it's inconsequential in terms of the money that they put into it too, right? Like, the book, the time, the focus. So not only does it not go well, but it can be a 1-year exercise to work out that it didn't end well. So pretty brutal.
Well, there's that. So I guess the good news for me, I may not be where I thought I'd be at almost 45, but at least I'm not, an author. So there's that. That's good.
Well, that's good, dude. You're doing good, man. Love it.
God. All right, moving on. So this is good, dude. This is good because you mentioned something in there in terms of just in regards to coaching and everything else. And this is, I think, it's a very interesting question because somebody just wrote in and said, I've been a successful coach. So when they say coach, I'm suspecting not business coach, but I've been a successful coach for a long time and struggling to adopt my approach to business coaching, any advice?
Did it say what kind of coaching?
No, I probably life coach, right? Like realistically,
yeah,
that's how the life.
that's okay.
No offense to
Yeah,
life
so I've been
coaches.
a successful coach. Okay, so look, bottom line, coaching is coaching. The goal is goal is kind of think of it as mastery. Mastery is that that there is no destination. Mastery is being a better version of yourself every single day until the day they dig a hole and throw you in there, or whatever they do. That's a bit morbid, but that's what mastery is. Just every day getting better. Again, that was the genesis. That's the reason why I started my one day, my one coaching thing series. Just to do the homework for folks, to just give you, one tidbit. So coaching is coaching, really. 96% of businesses don't hit $1 million. So really, if you want to scale, like I'll meet a coach all the time and they tell me that they go to these, 5 million, 10 million, 25 million, et cetera. You're not going to be able to scale. 96% of businesses don't hit $1 million. So if you're going to go to $25 million companies, you're going to like 0.0001% of the population, less than that, right? So I would encourage you to be thinking about that. Like if the goal is to do it big and hit it out of the park, look, go backwards. Okay, here's something I learned from Tony Robbins that I think is incredibly valuable. So you're a successful coach and you're looking to make it work in business coaching, right? Well, actually, before I go into this, the reason most coaches, it's like earlier we talked about business model, right? The online course. You're not going to make any money selling an online course for $100 a month. No one's even going to use the damn thing, so you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get any success stories. You need to have accountability, and then you need like a more expensive upsell. You got to have an ascension ladder walking them to something at least worth $10,000 and ideally more, right? But it needs to be more value, and the people that spend the 10 grand have to be raving about what you delivered and the results of what they bought. Here's the challenge with most coaching niches is that, like as an example, one I love to pick on is like a grief coach, right? Running all over the place. The whole idea of a grief coach is to get you out of grief. So that means that when they're successful, they lose a client and they have to go back into lead generation. So think about this. If we enter common sense corner, success means you lose your client. Okay, like this is a bad business model and going to end poorly. The end. A career coach, same thing. You're just going and you're helping somebody. What happens when you find me the job? You get me the promotion. You lose me as a client, and then the better you get at it, the quicker you lose me, the quicker you got to go into lead generation. And arguably, the less money you're going to end up making, right? So you got to make sure you've got a business model that actually works before you get going. The magic of business coaching is that as a business, when you're working with a business owner, the whole idea is to help them grow. Well, if I'm doing, let's say I'm a chiropractor doing 500 grand, and then you help me grow to 750 grand, do I have more problems at 750 grand than I had at 500 grand? And the answer is obvious, yes. If I have more staff, do I have more problems or less problems? More problems. If I have more clients versus less clients, do I have more problems at more clients? The answer is obvious, right? So that's the magic of being a business coach is as you're working with folks and as they're growing, like I've had guys paid me we're moving, I think it's 12 years now. And next month, like if this is current, this is here, this is live, they paid me for 12 years. It's not like next month their card's not magically going to go through. Right? Like it's a 101, man. They're there. They're in. Right? So the bottom line is when you're business coaching, the magic is that not only do you get to keep your clients for potentially many years, potentially decades, it's that they need you. Not only are they there, they need you more. They become more reliant on you. And again, the reason they do the work is because you're going to call. Right? So that being said, just making sure that you've got a model and understanding that, like, very difficult for you to give me a niche of coaching where I can't show you how success means you're losing the client. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So just thinking about that as a model, but here's what I want to say to the guy, or this is anybody trying to learn something new, right? So just imagine like the XY axis, okay? So you got your horizontal and your vertical. And simply put, you got your line coming up. So somebody starts something new. Doesn't matter. Let's call it tennis. Okay. So they come flying up and the trajectory is really, really steep because you didn't play tennis and now you're going to start tennis. So you're going to improve madly. right? But then you get to this point, I want you to think you got low achievers, you've got succeeders, and then, the successful types, and then you've got the masters, okay? So kind of 3 levels. Well, the first level, they hit that, so I improve really madly. So again, imagine the line, the trajectory is going straight up. Now I hit a plateau, which everybody does. You will, Road Dog will, I will, everybody, our kids will. You're going to hit a plateau where all of a sudden you don't improve as much, right? Well, at that stage, a couple things can happen. You can either, the low achiever will get bored with it and then just quit, and then they'll go to golf, right? The high achiever, the succeeder, will go and, read a book, take a lesson, scramble. Just imagine chaos on a piece of paper right at that plateau point, and then they'll find a way to go boop, and take another little improvement. So again, there's another little steep. So there's a steep line, there's a plateau, and then there's another small line up, because all of a sudden you read the book, you did the courses, and you take a small step up. And then guess what happens? Another plateau. What do? You go buy a better book, a better video. You get better coaching. You hire a more expensive coach, or a better, like a professional this time, instead of, the excellent amateur, whatever it's going to look like. You get more training. What happens? You hit that second plateau and you go boop, and you get another little slight increase. And then what happens? You hit another plateau. And this will happen quicker as you continue to improve. The plateau will continue to hit quicker and quicker and quicker. Like that trajectory will get smaller and smaller and smaller, if that's making sense, right? Well, here's how a master does it. This is how Tiger Woods did it back in the day when he was number 1 in the world. You start something, call it tennis, you go, poof, trajectory comes up. This is what the master does. This is somebody who crushes it. This is the business coach that's asking me this question. This is the guy that goes to $10 million, what I'm about to describe. Okay, well, he goes up and he hits the plateau like we all do. What he accepts in his mind is that he's got to go backwards to go forwards. So that plateau, instead of a plateau, it's the opposite. It actually declines, okay? And they go backwards. They change their swing. They start running to the net. But the first few times they start running to the net, the ball goes whizzing past them, right? But then they start to work out, I've got to do it in this manner. I got to do it earlier. I got to do it later. I've got to do it, to the middle of the court instead of just straight up, whatever it is, right? I'm sure somebody that plays tennis is listening to me right now, Road Dog, going, he doesn't know how to play tennis, does he? Okay, but anyway, so the plateau becomes the decline, and now the boop happens again. But guess what? It goes significantly higher than what the succeeder did, but not the same, that initial trajectory, nowhere near that. But he gets a significantly bigger decline. Guess what happens? Boop, you hit the plateau, right? But instead of hitting the plateau, remember, this is a master who goes, oh my gosh, I'm so frustrated. This is a nightmare, but I've got to go backwards again to go forward. So he gets worse for a period of time and starts losing games that he otherwise would win. But he's changed the way that he holds his racket. He's adjusted it, right? And again, this is what Tiger Woods did famously. Probably heard the story. He was number 1 golfer in the world. He was going on like it's amazing that he greatest of all time. No one's ever going to touch him. He's going to break all the records. He was number 1 in the world, and he adjusted his swing. And everybody's like, what the world why would you change your swing? You're the greatest of all time. You're the number 1 golfer in the world. Nobody can beat you. Anybody who has to golf against you craps their pants at the mere sight of you with golf shoes on, and you're changing your swing? Well, this is what a master does. So answer to the question, you want to go from one coaching niche to another coaching niche, because I'm guessing maybe you see a little bit of what I was describing earlier, where the business coaches are the ones, and the executive coaches and the health coaches and the grief coaches and the career coaches are forever in lead generation mode, and they can't scale. So that is what. So that's what I'd say. That's even like with our guys. Like we've got a lot of coaches that, they do legitimately, 30, 40, 50, 60 grand recurring a month, legitimately. But these are guys who have teams. All of our guys who do those kinds of numbers and ultimately are unicorns that hit 7 figures, they've got teams of coaches underneath them. And again, understand when you start taking a team, it's like you've been doing this training and you're kicking butt, you're taking names. It's like, holy smokes. Okay, well, I got to take a step backwards here. because I'm not going to be able to take on new clients. I'm going to take a small step backwards to take many steps forward. That's just something you've got to accept. So, Road Dog, that's how, going from one coaching niche to another. It doesn't matter doing anything in life, going one to another. That's the attitude of a master, is that you do not plateau. You accept in order to get to where you need to be, you're going to have to go backwards to go forwards. And you're going to hate it. Doug hates it. I hate how to do it. Right? So there you go, bud.
Listening to you talk about tennis is like listening to you talk about skateboarding. Like it's something else. God.
Not pretty, isn't it?
Right.
I should have used hockey, but anyways, whatever.
I don't know why you don't go there. Like, stick to what you know. Know your strengths, Karl. Right? It's like I'm redoing a part of my backyard, and I'm like, I could have a beautiful barbecue area, and I could have a nice entertaining space. But I'm like, I don't know how to barbecue properly. I'm going to put a fire pit in and stick to my strengths of crushing beer. Like, know your strengths. So, anyways, real quick, last question here. We're kind of on this online, digital type theme here. So this kind of ties in. Maybe just spend like just 2-3 minutes on this. Good luck on that. But can you explain to me what network effect is and how it's relevant for business coaches and clients?
Oh my God. Boom. Network effect. Oh my God, dude, this is a beauty. 2-minute version. Okay. Look, first of all, great question. I freaking love it. Everybody listening, you should take some time to really understand what network effects are. What are they? If I were to break it down to a sentence, it would be that each time you take on a new client, it improves the user experience for the other clients. Okay. When you study this, an example we'll give a lot of the time will be a telephone, right? So imagine you had the first ever phone, Road Dog, but no one else had a phone. Who are you going to call? There's no one to call. No one's calling you. It's just a phone, right? It's like biggest useless piece of plastic of all time. But when everybody's got a phone, all of a sudden the user experience increases exponentially as you get, it just improves exponentially constantly. So that would be like it in a nutshell. It's a thing I've been like, so I want you to picture a clock, okay? And then like scale is written in the middle, because everybody, you want to build a business, you want to scale it, right? Pretty straightforward. So like you take Amazon as an example, as a business that has used the network effect, what I call a clock, very, very well. So at the top, so picture at 12 o'clock, you've got selection. Okay, at 3 o'clock, what would you have? Like customer experience. So the more selection, the better customer experience. The better customer experience, the more people are going to come back. So you'd have more traffic, right? More customers. And then following that, so now we're going to go to 9 o'clock. Like traffic, we'll say, is at 6. And then at 9 o'clock, you're going to have more sellers. Well, the more sellers you have, what do you continue to do? You got more selection. And then so picture this clock going around and around and around. And as it continues to, it picks up speed and size for that matter. And then just picture the way Amazon has managed. I mean, like nobody's stopping Amazon anytime soon, including COVID, right? Like nothing stopped as they began to scale. So they've got network effects working in their favor. Uber would be the same. Like what goes at the top of the clock at 12 o'clock is absolutely critical. And the concept I'm describing here, like network effects, is how you scale a company. If you want to build a $1 billion company, I know people spit this out. I had somebody say to me last week, something about a $1 billion company. And I'm like, man, just no disrespect, right? But you don't know, like $1 billion, because I know Zuckerberg did it, and Airbnb did it, and everybody else, right? But like, let me tell you, $1 billion. So if you go in seconds, 1 million seconds is 11 days, and then 1 billion seconds is 32 years, right? Like, the difference between, don't talk to me about $1 million business and go into $1 billion company. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, holy smoke. That being said, it's not impossible, and many have done it, but you see the companies that hit $1 billion, you notice that they get to 2, 3, 5, 10 billion in reasonable short order, because again, what I'm describing here, okay, because they've got network effects working in their favor. If you can find a way to do this on a low scale with a client or your own business, when I say home run, I'm talking home run. think of like Uber. What would the top of Uber would be like demand for the service? Like they had to pull everything away from taxis, right? Well, at 3:00, you'd have more drivers. Then at 6:00, what would you have? Like geo, the more drivers you've got, the more cities you're covering. And then at 9:00, you'd have faster, faster delivery. Like if I can order an Uber and they could be here in 3 minutes, and I can order a taxi and they'll be here in 20 minutes, which one's more convenient? And by the way, the Uber, I can see, where they're at and that kind of thing. So what's that going to go to my clock? More demand? Am I going to hire Uber next time again? And am I going to be more inclined to do it? And like even instead of here's what people are not realizing is happening. Like people are going to a meeting and instead of driving their own car, they're getting an Uber because it's so convenient, so easy, sitting in the back with their laptop working like they're in a limo going, and then they finish their appointment, walk out, call an Uber, and somebody's there in 3, 4, 5 minutes, right? Like think of the magic. So all of a sudden the clock starts to turn significantly faster and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then other factors come into it, like the less driver downtime, the more money that they can make. So then the fares are going to become cheaper as you move forward. Again, increasing the velocity and the speed of this clock. So at Leader Publishing Worldwide, like my company, what we're doing here, Focus.com and whatnot, you've got we bring on a new client, we get more knowledge, we get a better customer. The results increase. And then what do you think that's going to happen? More referrals or less? Well, my 12:00 is new clients, right? And again, the velocity just increases and increases. And then we have things like group calls, ask the expert, like group coaching calls on a weekly basis. If I've got more people on there, you see how that increases the user experience? We get a Facebook group, same thing. We have more users or less users. What's going to add to the experience? Factors like that. So the bottom line, so Road Dog, I'll finish with this, but it's important. Okay, so one of the challenges let's use a company, let's say a company that's painting cars. Okay, they can effectively do one a day. Let's assume there's 30 days in a month. And what happens? Once they get to 31, like if they go to 60, the problem is they've got a lineup of they either need to go and think of the expenses, the issues, the dramas that could potentially come with that. That's not to say that nobody expands, but it's important that with a model like that, they are not going to be able to get network effects working in their favor. So once they get to 30 and they don't expand, and then they go to 60 cars, does the user experience get worse or better? And the answer is worse, because now they have to wait a month to just get their car into the damn shop to get painted. Well, this lessens the user experience. So it goes anti-clockwise, which you don't. You need your clock to be going in a clockwise direction. So that's and the way, like a consultant, the way that you can bring that, because you can create, once you get, let's say you could take on 30 clients, once you get to 31, you've got less of user experience. So the way that you can combat that is building a team of 10 coaches. So if you want to get network effects working in favor of your for your coaching business, you need to, you should get into our program, by the way, because we'll help you build a team of 10 coaches underneath you, but that'll be working with you, and you mentor them and that sort of stuff. We train you on how to do that. But the bottom line, that's how you do it. So network effects, bloody good question. We had some more time. We could probably go back and forth a little on this one, Road Dog, but home run of a question, something everybody should be thinking about, because it's very powerful concept, bro. And one that I think business coaches should really be understanding. So yeah, that's network effects, bud.
Okay, so just to close out, give me one thing that you think a coach could do this week to either increase their business or their user experience based on everything that we covered today. Just kind of give me, what do you think is one thing that you could implement this week?
Yeah, I love it. Great question. Here's what I think should do. I mean, the obvious one is get on the phone and do. It comes, so the question is, Road Dog, we say to a coach all the time, pick up the phone, send out the messages, go out and help folks. And the question is, why doesn't a coach, like one coach takes it to the moon and has 5 clients in the first week of working with us, and another one gets to 60 days and is still sitting behind the phone, like scared of the phone, scared of their Facebook profile and not getting anywhere? What's the difference? And the answer is confidence. It's just psychology. It's the chokehold is your psychology. So I think a little bit, here's a great exercise. Pen, paper, and if your shtick is, iPad and that sort of stuff, but I believe that there's magic in pen and paper, even for the youngsters listening. Time to think, right? So 40 minutes in a dark room, no interruptions, no bathroom breaks. Don't be have a sip of water and then just deal with it for 45 minutes. Pen and paper, put a question at the top of the page. And let's say, how do I help a restaurant over the 90? How do I help a restaurant elevate, whatever the word is for you, right? But how do you take a restaurant to the next level and sit there for 45 minutes and think of ways that you could go about helping a restaurant? And go cosmetic surgeon, go day spa, go landscaper, go chiropractor, whatever. But just write down 100 different ways that you could go about, or whatever your page, wherever it takes you, and halfway through you can adjust the question. But I think it's a great confidence builder. Just sit there and instead of worrying about generating leads, worry about your own confidence and your own selling yourself on the fact that you can really change these people's lives, which you can. Again, you guys, if you listen to my stuff, you just know how freaking easy this is. Like writing down your goals. But everybody, I say write down your goal, and I'm talking to a business owner, and they write down, I want to hit $1 million. And I go, so what is that per month? And you guys have heard me say this before, but they can't tell me. If you haven't taken the time to reverse engineer what $1 million is per month, which it's $83,333.33, right, per month. If you haven't taken the time to work that out, you're not hitting $1 million, the freaking end. In other words, the goal that they write down sucks. So help them write down a really powerful, realistic goal, put it in their pocket, and go. It's like, and put it in their wallet, for instance, or put it on the back of their phone, or use it as the screensaver on their phone, right? Like one of the things I do is like your password on your phone. How often do you do that per day? Ton. Well, let's say that your goal is $12,000 per month in recurring revenue. Make your password $12,000. And then do that with your coaching clients, right? Like that's the way you really help somebody. 80-20, understanding 80-20. What people don't think about is the magnifying glass over the 20. So if you go 80-20 and then you break away the 80 and just go to the 20, and then that becomes 100, and then go 80-20 again. So you go 80-20, 80-20, 80-20 a fourth time, you'll find that 1% is percentages, but it's 75. Right? So like 2% of their activity is like 75% of the productivity in the business, right? 1% of your clients spend 50% of the money with you, and 2% spend 75. Think about that. Well, go spend time on those 2%. Help your business owner spend time on the 2%. The problem is it's not always obvious where the 2% is. In fact, it's very seldom. So Road Dogg, that's what I'm going to finish with, man, is the confidence of the coach will dictate the activity of the coach. And in some personality types, by the way, they'll just go 100 miles an hour to start off with and pick up the pieces as they move along. And that's amazing, but that's the anomaly. Sit down, write down, call it 100 ways to help a, restaurant in time to think in a dark room, pen and paper.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's funny you say that. Real quick for me, on Friday afternoon, actually, I put together a list. I'm putting together a new group coaching program that I'm charging $2,500 a month to be a part of. And what did I put on the top of my whiteboard? How can I find these people $5,000 each in the first 30 days? So imagine me going in and then doubling basically what I'm going to be charging them, which I'm, by the way, going to discount for the first month as part of a COVID special. How much certainty and confidence am I going to have making that offer?
That's it, dude. Boom. That's the end.
That's it.
But yeah, that exercise in itself, like that question and looking at it constantly, because that's what geniuses do. They come up with powerful questions. It's not about the answer or the statement. That's what smart people do. Geniuses come up with the question.
Beautiful. I'll take it. I think I'm going to end on that. You just called me a genius. Perfect. Thanks, everybody. All right. On that note, again, thanks everybody for tuning in to another awesome episode of Business Coaching Secrets. I hope you found it as cool as I did with the man, the legend, the guy on top of the hill, ready to clean his moat, King Karl. If you want more information on how to build your coaching company, visit focused.com. Okay, focused with the ED at the end. Focused.com. I had some concerns about that last time, and they checked out focused.com, and it didn't really exist. So focused.com. And again, if you enjoy the podcast, please share it with an existing coach or someone that you think would make a fantastic coach. You know, someone like you and I, someone that loves Tony Robbins or great salespeople or all those wonderful types of people. And of course, if you like what you heard, we'd appreciate if you could rate the episode and leave us a review, because again, all of these places where you're getting your podcast from, that's how we get rated. So if you like what you hear, please give us a rating. And again, everybody, make it a fantastic week. And remember that progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.